today. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. We're so excited to be talking to you from sunny California. I'm Maricela McKenzie, and I'm happy to be here with you with my colleague, Kiana Scott.
Good morning.
A little bit of background about us. We are working with ChargerHelp since May of this year. Super excited to be here. And we both have our many reasons why we chose to come and work here. But I'll give you a little bit of background on me. I have been working in the EV charging space for quite a bit, working with manufacturers, working with automotive companies, and also working in the oil and gas industry prior to coming to EV charging. So I've been in the energy field for quite a while, and I'm really passionate about being here. I'm excited to be working on EV charging, and most importantly, working on the uptime of EV charging. I think it's the single most important thing we could be working on right now to try to get folks to adopt driving EVs and just creating that confidence in the industry that I think is super, super important for adoption. Just wanted to say the reason for our webinar today and the topic for, what to do to train and get your EVSE technicians ready is coming from you all. We've been getting a lot of questions about what to do. How has ChargerHelp done it? How do we need to prepare? What are the things we need to look out for? And so I pass it on to my colleague Kiana to talk about her, and you'll know from her background why it's so important that she's on this call.
Well, good morning again, everyone. I am new to the energy space. That's one of the reasons why I say the energy transition is a people transition. My background sits squarely in secondary and adult education. I last year just ended a 23-year career with a charter school management agency, where we operated 7 charter high schools in the greater Los Angeles County. I was a teacher, I was a school leader, and then also a school administrator. So again, my background is in education. One of the reasons why I love this work, I know it seems face value, a stark departure from my background, but I'm sitting with learning and development. That is the space that I really occupied and really had a passion around in my background as an educator. I really love learning how people learn. So much so, I learned a lot about brain-based learning. That is a philosophy of thinking. Not really, but it's practices, like actual practices and strategies you can use to cement information. I took a lot from that. I made my kid my lab rat, my first child, and we can talk about that later. But to be quite honest, that's one of the reasons why I'm in this space. We sit in a space in the energy transition that has such amount of urgency with it. We need to learn and apply so that we can move our country towards electrification. And we don't have a lot of time to spend with the learning curve. There will be some, but we don't have a lot of time. So one of the things that I'm investing in is learning how people learn, creating a space where folks can learn information quickly and effectively, and thereby apply it specifically and particularly as an EVSE technician.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's super helpful for us, especially in this space that we're living in right now, where there's so much change. Even, when you think about the role of EVSE technician and how there was no role called EVSE technician not very long ago. We know ChargerHelp came into this space and said, hey, we have work to do. It's important work. It's very specific work. And we need to show folks how to do it because it hasn't been done before. There are a lot of details there. And the growth that we're going to see in the years to come, right now we're seeing a massive growth. And if we keep going this way, it's going to be just imminent that we train a workforce to be able to handle this work. So I want to talk a little bit about the infrastructure bill. Basically, the U.S. has a goal to have 50% of all of its vehicles sold to be zero emission by 2030. And that's a lot. That's a lot. And so in order to sell those vehicles, in order to gain that trust and get people to really adopt it, they've put money out there, funding to be able to, to put 500,000 public EV charging stations. This is what the government's doing. And that sounds like a lot in itself. And there are so many other estimates out there. NREL has, says we need like 1.2 million public stations. McKinsey says, we need a ton more. So all the experts out there are saying we're going to need a lot of EV charging stations, and these EV charging stations have to work.
Right.
And so, yeah. And actually, and part of the funding means they you've got to keep them working, right? There's got to be a commitment to keep them working. So that picture of how many stations need to be out there, can you give us, let's talk about how many people or what sort of skills people need to have in order to manage and, operations and maintenance of those stations.
For sure. I think even prior to talking about the skill set, I appreciate the picture that you painted around the direction that the country's headed in when we talk about charging stations. And one, of course, the electric vehicles, but the infrastructure needs to be operational and effective enough to produce the confidence, as you mentioned, so that folks could thereby purchase these EV vehicles, since that is our goal. I think one of the things that our country has done towards this, EV trajectory, if you will, is we saw the manufacturing of charging stations and the deployment of charging stations and the installation of charging stations. And then there was nothing left on the other side when they break down. And one of the things that our CEO says, and it's the truth, charging station is an IoT asset, right? So it will break, it will go down, it will need a software fix. So when we talk about the skills that are needed, it's one thing I really want to make clear is that ChargerHelp, we have had at this point over 18,000 touch points with charging stations. I don't think there's another organization or business out there that sits with that much data. And we are learning how charging stations behave, how they respond, what is the failure point when they're not operational. And we aggregate all that data. We sit with about 95% of the reason that there is a failure point. It's a software issue. It's something that needs to be solved in the air. That doesn't mean that it doesn't need to be touched, but it's not a technical hardware installation connected fix, if you will. So when we talk about the skill set, there needs to be a balance and an intersection between hardware and software, between field service and between technological knowledge, if you will. So I think for us, that's one thing that we are trying to make sure that we deliver in our curriculum specifically. We have I don't know if I should talk about this now, but our SAE curriculum, and that's one of the great accomplishments I think our country's moving towards, of course, but our country has adopted via SAE. But to say that ChargerHelp was at the ground floor as one of the SMEs, literally, even beyond that, SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers, I want to assume everybody knows what that means. They took our original curriculum, right, which was 5 domains. They adopted and adapted, added 2 more, steeped in electrical energy, safety, codes, fundamentals, and really increased, I'd say, like the breadth and the depth of the knowledge and the skill that's needed in this space. We are taking what we know to be true based on our experience in the field, based on the data that we have aggregated, based on the findings that we have, concluded, matching that with the curriculum that SAE and several SMEs in the space. And we're creating a curriculum that literally will support folks being able to, one, know what it means to be an EVSE technician, know what EV battery is, what it means to repair, corrective maintenance, preventative maintenance, what it means to commission, but also what it means to fix it specifically, like hands on the charging station, boots on the ground, field service in operation. How do I fix this charging station? And I think for us, what makes us so unique is that we have that history. We have those findings, we have that data, and we also have the the privilege and the honor of having been the author of the curriculum that even got us here.
Yeah, I love that. You touched on a lot of things that I want to talk about as Senior VP of Sales. And, our sales team is devoted to talking to customers about how we can help them, maintain their uptime. We sell a really fantastic product called Reliability as a Service. And it is a flat rate, sort of a subscription-based maintenance model. It's very different from the my station's broken, can you please come out and fix it, right? Our goal is to make sure that we can manage and maintain those stations maximum uptime, throughout the subscription. And so talking to customers, what they want to see, a lot of times they're just like, our station's broken, we just want to make sure that you send someone out who is knowledgeable, who knows what they're doing, who can troubleshoot efficiently, and who's going to, fix it and get it back up and running ASAP, and hopefully fix it right the first time, right? And you mentioned the EV charging stations are IoT assets. So that traditional thought of, sending somebody out with some tools and just going and opening up a door perhaps, and, turning a few knobs and things, there's a bit more to it. And so, knowing this, there's urgency to create the workforce, but also from a customer perspective, they want that confidence in the folks that we're sending out to them. What, how do we address different types of training for our teams out there? How do we address the different, learning methods and maybe their educational background or experiences? How do we go about that? Because their ability to troubleshoot in the field, their ability to think on their feet, is going to be really important. And I know that we have very diverse backgrounds on our team, and in general, the folks that are going to be doing this work in the long run as well.
For sure. I think one of the concepts around this energy transition that is it's very cliche, but it's very necessary, and we operate in it for sure, is innovation, right? Being able to honor different thought processes, being able to give credence and validity to the different ways intelligences show up, the different ways people use their own skills and strategies towards an objective or completing a task, being able to give room for that. And I think at ChargerHelp, we do a great job of that. And thereby we I'd say, manifest that in how we facilitate our training and our curriculum. The three ways that folks learn just simply is, we learn through what we see, through what we hear, and also through what we touch, right? And this job is a very tactile job. You have to touch something. We also have to see how things work, and we also have to hear instruction. So there is a responsibility we have, one, and I think we execute and we sit responsibly in this space. We have to make sure that folks are able to access all of these learning modalities so that they can, one, learn the content, and then we increase the probability of them retaining the content and using the information because we have done that. I think one of the solves on our table right now is, hey, we have to get this information out to a ton of people, right? Because we need to be able to support a reliable charging infrastructure. And that is the job that we've taken on. That is what we do. That is only what we do. That is solely what we do, which is why I'm so grateful and honored to say that we literally can say we are the subject matter experts in this space. But I think to your point, Maricela, when we talk about folks, we're rolling out a curriculum that's coming out in December, we will be disseminating this class online. So one, that person that's going to get that class online will definitely undoubtedly be someone that is a visual and auditory learner, that they know, so they have some adjacent knowledge to this space, right? They're not new to it. They may have been in the automotive industry or have done some field service work, or have some background and expertise or basic foundational knowledge on EVs or the EV infrastructure and the technology that accompanies it. But I think the other side of that is there are some folks that are super new, have no idea, and really want to get into this space. We also have, training for that person who definitely needs to touch and see it and watch it. Needs to be able to have a direct, tangible connection to the instructor and be able to ask questions and get feedback as their learning progress grows. So I think, and we talk about, innovation in this space. We talked about this before. ChargerHelp will not be or is not the only organization that is supporting this reliability in the infrastructure, in the EV charging infrastructure. But in the space of innovation, I don't know, and I feel like we are the only ones that use the software application to do so. That's our innovation that we bring to the space. Reliability as a service is operated through our Empower platform. That's something that we created. There might be another organization that's not doing that. So I think when we think about, again, how people show up differently, all working towards the same goal, we also honor that in our curriculum and training administration.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we can use our company experience, right? The history that we have gone through in developing the work that we do, in developing our software platform, in developing our technician app that they use in the field. I mean, they're following workflows through an app, and basically creating fantastic quality control, creating a predictable delivered service, creating the experience that our customers need to have. So I love that. And what better, if we're talking about, and we are talking about, online training, preparing a future workforce for taking this SAE test and really preparing them to be able to go out and do this good work that we're doing. Because we've never claimed we want on 100% of the business. We want to make sure that we can use what we've learned to prepare everyone out there to really take this task on and be able to deliver the electrification that needs to happen. So, what better than to take a course from an organization who has lived it, who has learned from the challenges, who has developed tools, and who has been instrumental in, feeding into a standardized test, something that is going to be used industry-wide. That I just think that's like the best learning experience. At least it creates that confidence, that trust, saying, okay, if I can choose who to prepare with, this sounds like an organization who will be able to answer my questions, someone who will be able to share their insight. And would you say that in the training, we'll also have, in addition to like curriculum instruction, there's also real world, the ability to ask questions about field experience, about challenges that, maybe someone could bring up. Once I was in the field and I saw this, is that typical, or
Absolutely.
Have you seen that before? That kind of thing.
Absolutely. Our, 3 of the domains, one is corrective maintenance, one is preventative maintenance, one is troubleshooting, right? The experiences that we use in those 3 domains they all come from the field. They've already happened. Our trainers that are facilitating the curriculum, they were first EVSE technicians. So they have boots on the ground experience, and they've also been doing training for the last 2 years. So you're not learning from someone who is just picking up this curriculum and figuring out how to train. There's nothing wrong with that, but our trainers have had a head start as they have started off in the space where folks are training to enter into, so they know both sides. They will be able to give, again, a real world application in addition to the theoretical and conceptual background that supports the information. They know and have been able to sit squarely in applying and using the information that they're delivering. So I think that in and of itself kind of sets us apart. I think, to your point, because the space is so new, I mean, innovation is, again, something we honor and we sit with. But when we start moving towards electrification, and mass EV adoption, you want to sit in a space of expertise as well. And that's a bit less, less, I don't want to say agile, but less moving and changing, if you will. Like, you want to say, I know how, I understand, I got it, and we're doing it. And I think ChargerHelp, we've tried a few different ways, but I think I can confidently say we know how, we've tried it and we're doing it. And we sit as a resource, a valuable, worthy, subject matter expert in this space. And we can deliver the training and the curriculum in a way that when a person's done, they can now transition into this space.
Love it. Love it. So on that note, I know a lot of folks are curious about the SAE test in general. Can you touch on maybe a couple of things that, items that you expect to see, that you would expect to see on the test, or maybe some specific things that you will be training on in preparation for the SAE test? And I know I'm asking you a ton of questions, but
no worries. I mean,
you've got the fantastic info.
I'm an EVSE technician. I too want to learn, so I will probably take a course. So I've already mentioned a few of the domains. I think the other, as I mentioned, electrical safety and codes. That's one of the new ones, and electrical energy fundamentals. The other ones are from us. But I think when we talk about now how the information and the content is being categorized, there's competencies, right? And there's two areas that the information sits under. It's skill, which folks will have to learn a skill and show a visual display of mastery of said skill. And then there's also comprehension, because there are just like codes. There are concepts that we need to know, that we need to have a context around and be able to answer. So that will probably be assessed in a true or false, or a multiple choice, or a fill in the blank. But those are two spaces where folks will have to show that they understand. The SAE test, while it is still being formulated, it's due to come out Q1 of next year. As I understand, it will be a 2-part test. The first part will probably assess for that knowledge competency. What do you know? Then the second part will be the visual display of mastery. What skills can you show that you've gotten in using a charging station? So I think with the test, I think one of the things that the test has done, this certification has done to our curriculum, is now our goal. Of course, our goal before is you have a certificate of completion and you are ready to assume a role in this space. I think now our goal, because we want to make sure that folks pass this exam, now our goal is definitely, again, to prepare them for passing this test. So our curriculum has taken a shift towards, again, accomplishing that feat, preparing folks for that.
I love it. And the curriculum has taken that little bit of a shift, but you mentioned earlier that we were instrumental, and we were part of the different organizations that shared and submitted and presented curriculum that has in fact been turned around and become part of the requirements of the test. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit more about like what that process was like, and how much of our curriculum has really landed in, or has been part of this development of the
100% of it. 100% of it. It, as I mentioned earlier, our curriculum, created by our awesome CEO, Camille Terry. Some of you may know her. Sure, all of you know her. She created this curriculum. So in its original state, it was 5 domains, and she looked at what was failing, what were the struggles that folks were having with charging stations. And that curriculum came out of, I'm going to say years, I don't know, but some years ago. That was the 5 domains came from her experience and knowledge in the space. SAE took that very same curriculum, and as I mentioned, adopted it and adapted it. So they took it and added to it, added some breadth, added some depth, added the competency categories, but also added in the front end spaces about electrification, or electricity, if you will. And I find that, some folks would say like, hey, this is more conceptual and it sits more with knowledge, and will I need to use it in the field? Maybe not. Maybe not. But what is true is that our country is moving towards electrification. The concepts around electricity will probably transfer into other jobs and other spaces. And to be able to know that is important. I think one of the things about ChargerHelp is we are, I mean, I say this to be funny, but not, we are ChargerHelp. We want to help charging stations be better. We want folks to be able to rely on them so that we can help our country move towards mass EV adoption. And you don't get that without customer confidence in the infrastructure, right? But that is the part that we play in electrification as a whole. So as we prepare people, as we train people and inform people how to transition into this EVSE space, there are undoubtedly other opportunities in other spaces for them to learn about electrification as a whole. The infrastructure may or may not be ready to receive tons of trained workers, but the electrification, again, that transcends other spaces. So HVAC is on the rise. Heat pumps are on the rise. Solar panel is on the rise. We have to get there. So I at first was like, this electricity stuff. And we got so much pushback from folks on our team. Like, we don't use that. But it's a breadth of knowledge that folks need to know as we just move towards electrification. And I think that is the one thing that SAE really added to when I talk about our curriculum process. They took our curriculum. We met, I want to say, once or twice a month. The cadence maybe was not as normal as that. Maybe been twice here, one time here. But our training managers were on the line and always asking, is this what you all do? Is this what you use? Is that right? And I think it gave ChargerHelp such, not that we didn't have it before, but when we talk about a certifying body, SAE is an international certifying body. I think it really solidified, formalized, and cemented our space. I don't want to say as the authors of this curriculum in this space, but they took our curriculum and created a body of knowledge around it. And now the body of knowledge is what we're using to now upgrade and enhance and strengthen our original curriculum. So that is like the cycle of information and how it
I love it. It's like a complete cycle, started here and went all the way around and is now back to us again. And I think we'd be remiss to say that, if we didn't shout out to our manufacturing partners, they're fantastic customers. They are part of the reason why we have become so knowledgeable and educated on the products that we work on a regular basis. They hold, trainings and they were also part of
yes,
exactly. Piece as well, right? Attending meetings and companies like ABB,
Radio,
Flow, Electrify America. Yeah, so really great to see an entire industry coming together to say, yes, we have to come up with a way that will create reliability, that will create consistency, will standardize the work that should be done out there. And so, I love to note, give them a special shout out as well. So,
that you brought that up, because that's one thing that is super important around this EVSE technician space is the manufacturer training. And that's another thing that ChargerHelp, we push for, we schedule, we literally go after. Like every month, our training manager is hitting up the different manufacturers, because we work on all of the stations, and we're like, are there any new trainings? Are there any additional trainings that we need to know so that we can literally effectively and accurately perform O&M on these charging stations? So there is a general body of knowledge and a general curriculum that will approach, and that will teach someone how to become a certified EVSE technician. But then there is additional learning that must happen. And we are so grateful to be able to have these training partners and collaborations and efforts with the manufacturers of these charging stations.
Yeah, definitely. It takes a partnership. It takes a community. So I'm happy to hear that. we're getting a bunch of questions, and I'd love to start addressing some of those here at the half. So one of the questions was, how can an apprenticeship access the curriculum? And so, yeah.
That's an interesting question. And, I the OJT that is required under an apprenticeship is something we have to solve for right now. We are working with Pasadena City College to literally kind of birth this process with them. We realize apprenticeship is an effective avenue to teaching someone, again, hands-on real world application into this space. Our work is so it is so, I don't want to say all over the place. It's not, but our texts are in different spaces. Our work orders will come at different times. We don't have a regular like 9 to 5, here you go, the structured hours. It's field work. And so we also have techs that travel across state lines to go and complete their work orders. So it is because of the very nature of work that it has been hard to kind of add the structure to all the variation that exists in the field. So it's been great to kind of form this partnership with Pasadena City College, because they've been able to do this with other industries that are adjacent to ours. So that being said, apprenticeship forthcoming. Give us some months, but we don't have a program right now, simply because, like I said, it's such variation, and an apprenticeship is such structure where we're going to marry the two. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah. There's a lot to do. And on that note, we've got a question here that says, when will registration for the course be open? January 2024. And what is the cost of the course and certification test if it's done separately? And do you have, I know that the course is the, we're talking about the SAE test, right? Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe we're not. We're talking about our course. And so it looks like a little bit of both, actually. So I'm going to say, we're going to be launching online training in the very, in the months to come here, very soon. The SAE test is going to become available, Kiana.
We've been told Q1 of next year.
Yeah. And so costs and things like that, we don't have information on those things yet, right?
No.
Yeah. That'll be launched via their website, presumably, and more information to come. And you can definitely expect us to share that information, and we'll be posting on our website courses to take with us, to sign up for with us, as well as information and links to SAE testing.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I was also trying to read a question.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
I believe you stated the entire course curriculum is online. Is this correct? Is there a field practice? Is there a field practical component? So the entire curriculum is not only online. We have a few ways that we're going to administer training. So there are some folks, our great, amazing partners in Michigan and Michigan Central, we're going to be in class. We'll also have a partnership with Goodwill, kicking it off next year in Atlanta. We're going to be in class. So that will be hands-on training folks in class. But there are some folks, some business owners, operators that want to train their workforce and just can't deal with the revenue loss of folks taking off of work, 3 weeks or so to do a training. So we want to make sure that we are able to get the information and get the curriculum out to them as well. So it just depends on the needs and the availability of the folks who want the training, but it is not totally online. It can be hybrid, it can be in person, or it can be online.
Fantastic. And on that note, Kiana mentioned a few places where there will be live training, and we are always, we have a lot of experience working with nonprofit organizations and workforce development agencies and getting our curriculum out. And now that we're developing this special curriculum to help prepare for the SAE test. We will continue to be, to do that kind of training as well in certain spaces. And so there may be opportunities to be able to join in on some of those community-based ones. So there are conversations happening right now, and there's a lot of interest, of course, and a lot of communities that want to create, this kind of support for the people that live in their areas. So, but yeah, we're very excited about being able to launch something online. And I think we've got a question here around, where can I apply for training? And I'm glad you asked that. We do have on our website, we are gathering information. We'd love for you to be able to go to our contact us and give us your information. Let us know that you're interested in the training and what area you're in, email, phone, all of that, so we can get in touch with you and be able to provide you with updates as soon as we have them. Yes. Let's see. We have another question regarding, does a curriculum cover level 1, level 2?
I was just about to read that one.
Go for it. Yeah.
It does. It covers level 1, 2, 3, 3 is DC fast charging. So yes, it covers all of the charging. Depending on where we are, which I'm so great, we have some awesome folks who are interested in, I won't say who they all are yet, because some are still thinking about donating, but definitely working on like actual charging stations in the curriculum. I'm sorry, during the training. So yes, we deal with level 2, level 3 DC fast charging. That is all covered in the class.
And yeah, I'm just getting the link in here so that everyone can see where they can share their information with us. There we go. I've put it in the chat. It's chargerhelp.com, contact us. So great. What else do we have? We've got a few questions in here.
Will ChargerHelp have a class this year? Yes. December, we'll have our first online class, and that's what Marcella is giving you all the interest forms for. We're going to start that. And next year, well, actually, I'm sorry, we're going to have 2 classes. We're also training in Michigan this year, and that's our in-person. That's going to be so exciting. Michigan Central, you all, their partnership is brewing, and it is hundreds of folks, as I understand, have expressed interest in taking that course. So we're going to have an online and in-person happening this year.
Yeah, I love it. We've got a question here regarding, does the ChargerHelp SAE test supplement the EVITP test?
So no, it does not. Fact about EVITP, that is for electricians. So you have to be an electrician to take the EVI, to be EVITP trained in this space. The SAE certification, I'm not gonna say it's not for EVIT, but it allows entry for all others. So you can get this curriculum and be able to perform the same operations and maintenance. I won't say the same, but to perform operations and maintenance on charging stations, but under an SAE certification. EVITP is for electricians. And it's also one thing about the difference between the operations and maintenance and what the EVITP, electricians, of course, not of course, I don't know if everyone knows this, they install the charging stations. We pick up after installation, operations and maintenance, preventative care, troubleshooting, commissioning. Electricians install. We do not deal with installation at all. Okay, so I want to make that very clear.
Yeah, which makes the EVSE technician course and the SAE test prep actually really valuable to electricians, because they've taken this first part of this value chain that we all operate in, right? And now they can participate in this middle part that ChargerHelp participates in, which is okay, it's installed, it's operating, and now we've got to keep things moving. We've got to keep it working. We've got to make it accessible to everyone. So yeah, I think it's there's definitely a differentiation there, and it's definitely a great addition to someone, to an electrician or to someone who's EVITP already. We've got another great question here regarding how much of the training content will focus on electrical skills versus software troubleshooting skills. And I know we've talked about, that's the space where ChargerHelp really, really excels, right? There's a lot of knowledge about, obviously, I mean, there's a electrician, you can become a certified electrician. So there's lots of knowledge around that piece, but there hasn't been a lot of knowledge and documentation on this other piece, the software piece, when is it when do we know that it's an interoperability issue? Like, is it the software that isn't working properly? Is there a firmware upgrade that didn't take place? Or is there a problem with the way the charger's communicating with the vehicle? How much time do we spend on showing folks that part of it, that piece, trying to define the real issue?
All right, so I'm going to answer that person's question and yours as well. So the question about how much does it focus on electrical information? There's 7 domains in the curriculum right now. The first 2 are, the first one is electrical safety and codes, and the second one is electrical energy fundamentals. Those are the 2 that focus specifically on electrical foundation and electrical knowledge. The other 2 are, the other 5 are more application, more about the field experience, more about supporting the work. There are some skills, competencies that are in the first 2 domains. But again, it's more about like literally the electrical knowledge. Some of it may be connected and is connected to EVSE. For example, we have to look at the schematics and the diagrams of an EVSE charger, right? We have to look at where the electricity comes from as it goes from the grid through the ground. I am not an SME in this space, through the charging station, through the plug into the car. So the example, understandably, is a charging station and is a car, EV car, but the concept is electricity. On the other end of that, when we talk about the software, because as we mentioned earlier, 95% of the reason why these charging stations become inoperable is a software issue. That is where ChargerHelp and our expertise, that's where we come in. I am not certain if, like I said, anyone else has that data and has that has aggregated that many touch points with charging stations. So that's where our expertise comes in. When we get to the point where we are troubleshooting, where we are teaching folks corrective maintenance, it is those findings that that we're pulling from. And we have had instances, our last training, where we have connected folks, some of the trainees, to our Empower app. And we've allowed them to be a ChargerHelp technician for a day. And they have used our software application to do the troubleshooting or to do the O&M on the charging station. So electrical energy fundamentals, electrical information on the front end, on the back end, it's all, after that, it's all ChargerHelp.
Awesome. We've got a really great comment here. This is awesome. Thanks for sharing. The question is about, are we able to touch on a couple of organizations that have reached out for our curriculum, or is that, so who is interested in our curriculum already? And I think you've mentioned a few. Obviously, we're doing work with Michigan Central, Goodwill. We've got probably some conversations we can't mention yet. There are a lot of really great
saying names. I definitely think I can give industry. It's not that I just don't know all the names offhand, and I don't want to not mention anybody, but I have definitely seen our customer base expand in terms of who that customer is. There are community colleges, quite a few that have reached out to us, folks that want to get this into their 2-year degree career track, if you will. We've had private organizations, big businesses reach out. They have maybe a field management crew already, and they simply want to upskill because now charging stations are hitting their space and they need their field management team to be able to, again, operate. charging station, not operate, but perform operations and maintenance on charging stations. We've had, of course, workforce development partners who have gotten government funding to make sure that they're training a diverse work population, again, towards electrification, period. And they want to plug us into one of those certifications that they're offering. We've had this has been new, just an influx of folks that just as an individual want to learn how to be an EVSE technician. They want to get in this space. We've had small business owners. They have a crew of folks. Again, we've had some manufacturers that say, hey, I want to get some folks trained. We've had electricians say, I want to get the training. So folks it's a broad group of folks that are interested in this space. I think the government is screaming loud and clear that we're moving towards electrification as a whole. And I think folks are catching wind of that, and it would be smart. I always say this, to get as many keys on your key ring as possible. The infrastructure is changing, the economy is changing, jobs are changing, people are transitioning, blue collar workers are being moved from one industry to another. So in order to, the word is not stay relevant, but stay employable, stay abreast, be able to stay connected to the space. And when I say the space, I mean literally the working space. I'm not just talking about energy transition, but be able to stay connected to employment that is as equal as it was to your previous employment. I think folks are like, hey, I need to get this information. I need to learn. I need to be aware. I see where the country's headed. So I think because of that urgency and that transition, the folks that are interested, the type of folks that are interested in learning this has truly expanded.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say there's a lot of interest on the corporate side of things too, right? A lot of companies that are saying, hey, we already have maybe facilities maintenance folks who do some type of work for us already. We'd love to get them skilled in a way to help us with, the upkeep and maintenance and things. And so there's interest all around. And I have to say, one of the things that really attracted me to, come and work at ChargerHelp was this not just interest, but really kind of a mission to create to create jobs, and also to create to educate folks on what is coming, and to make people able to take on the role, right? To be able to interview and win jobs, and give them those skills. And so across the country, across all all education levels, and all backgrounds and everything. So I'm super proud to be working in this space where we're doing that. We do that at our company, and we're doing that, educating folks around the country. And we've got some questions here regarding if I don't have a lot of electrical experience, if I'm coming at this from, just a brand new thing for me, is that something, should I be taking the course? Is that something that I can do? Most
certainly. I love to say this. We have folks in ChargerHelp right now. One of our greatest technicians, he's getting trained to become a manager right now. He used to sell furniture. We have folks at Marcella and one of our former trainers who's coming back to be a trainer. So excited about that. He's transitioning from oil and gas as well. You don't have to have a lot of electrical knowledge. Will it be helpful? Yes. When we pull out a schematic and a diagram, the information will resonate. But that doesn't mean that you also can't pick it up because you've never seen it. I think what's most important, one, is a high school diploma. You want to be able to get a job, and most folks will not hire without that. And then two, a high school reading level. Again, the information is a bit more technical, so you want to be able to at least understand the words so that we can, kind of help guide the understanding after that. But you do not have to have a background that is in electricity. I will say this, and this is the truth anyhow, this energy transition, this mass EV adoption, this move toward electrification, it is new. It is very new. We're working with one of the community colleges, Pasadena City College, and it's so funny. We had talking about this. One of the requirements to be a professor there, I think it was like, you need to have like 10 years, 10 years of experience in your industry. And we're like, you're not going to find that. You're not gonna find that. So,
It doesn't
and
exist.
it
Yeah.
doesn't really exist, not with
Yeah.
one person in one space that long. And if you are, hey, hats off to you being that unicorn, but you are in familiar company. When we talk about folks being new to this space, there are folks who have tons of knowledge and expertise, have amazing degreed educational background, and are new to this space. I am one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, the training is for folks who have an interest, a passion, and can learn and want to apply themselves to get into this space.
Yeah. That being said, though, some experience with some electrical experience will be a lot of help, right?
For sure.
Definitely be helpful. And then there's also a pretty heavy safety training piece as well that I think will be really helpful. So yeah.
We cover those safety certs. It would be helpful if you came with those. And that's why I mentioned earlier about the different training platforms, right? That online class, that is definitely for the person that has some adjacent knowledge, that is not new to learning in a virtual space, that can get information through, an auditory and visual, and doesn't need to rely so much on the tactile, because you just need to be very self-aware about that. So that person probably, as I mentioned earlier, does come with some adjacent knowledge to the industry. You're not so fresh. You do have some background, if it's not just electrical knowledge, but you've been in the automotive industry. You know your way around a car, a battery. So you're not as fresh or new to the space. When we talk about the safety certifications, super important. We offer 22 hours of safety training. We do your NFPA 70E, your lockout, tag out, your ladder safety, your OSHA 10, your defensive driving, and there's a few others. But we definitely make sure that before we do any of this, the curriculum, that you definitely have your safety certs. So we'll offer that. If you don't have it, if you do have it, you just need to let us know that you do. And then we hit the ground running with the curriculum.
Yeah, good point. So I think last question, and thanks everyone. There have been some fantastic questions here, and I'm really happy to see folks being super engaged. We've got a question specifically about Michigan Central, I believe. However, are there night classes and or training? Is that going to be, I guess maybe we could just point them, maybe I could share a link or something where folks will be able to get more information. Or we can send it out via email on that, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We'll do that. And will a recording of this webinar be available? Yes, we will make that available for everyone. We're excited that you want to watch it again, and hope that you get a lot of really great information. And yeah, with that, are there any last questions? Any last thoughts, Kiana?
Not particularly. Excited you all are interested. I want to encourage you all to get the word out. ChargerHelp is about to hit the ground running with an amazing curriculum. Few different ways that it will be available to you. We are, happy to say best in class to do this, and just, come here, get trained.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We're looking forward. We're happy to be connecting with you today, and we're looking forward to the future work that we're going to be doing together, making this happen. So thanks for joining.
All right.